Yeah, there she is. All running good. And everything. Still some work I need to do on the frame. Mostly surface rust. Emergency brake needs to be fixed too, of course. With my body underneath here. That's probably the only one I need to really look at is that right there. The rest of the frame's pretty in good shape. That and the e-brake, of course.
Video here is going to be another voiceover one. Looking over the Jeep after I got it home, I was looking, alright, to pass the emissions of Colorado standards, I needed a new carburetor, which it's a clone Weber, I found that out later, and a new exhaust system on it. The exhaust was a falling apart exhaust. The carburetor, however, seeing it being a Weber clone, I went to looking around and did research and found the Motorcraft 2150. And I'll tell you about my wonderful escapades of getting the 2150 up and running, only to find out, oh, you can't use that on it. It needs to be all original with the original Carter Barrel 1, along with all the vacuum system. So stick with me here. We'll be talking about it here shortly. So what we're looking at right now is the exhaust system here on the truck. It was just a straight piped, no catalytic converter, a simple cherry bomb muffler. I was able to find KC 6x9 headlamps, as well as I needed to find a new antenna for the truck as well. Going through it, also needed sun visors and a few other things, but the weather also a big obstacle that was going on, and dudes around there running a snowplow in the middle of the night.
There you go.
So looking up closer towards my carburetor here, I'm looking at the Weber, seeing how it's all connected with the throttle and all that, because the Motorcraft 2150 needs a different throttle mechanism than what's on the Weber and what the straight sixes had versus the V8s. So looking closer at it, I was kind of looking around the truck. I was also noticing that the amp meter has to be replaced. It needs a lot of work. With all these items adding up, I had to find an item or buy things off eBay. Thankfully, I found Western Auto Recycling in Commerce City, who had a 1983 Jeep Wagoneer, and I was able to use the Jeep Wagoneer and get as many parts off it as I can, including trim pieces, items, air conditioning, interior pieces. This was the gold mine for the truck, so I can actually get it to how it used to be. Looking around, it has been touched a little bit, but we're getting seats out, we're getting door handles off, got the exhaust muffler off, catalytic converter, of course you can't, got the spare tire and the spare tire rod off that truck, or Wagoneer actually.
Thank God I don't have to pay him for the throttle cable getting that out.
but I had to crawl underneath that truck many times. So with that, I was eventually able to find a Motorcraft 2150 with the right Venturi size. Went all the way up to Fort Collins, only to find out, oh, this was in a fire. So I actually had to start replacing items as it came along, and I was able to get it working up and running. I didn't realize how brittle it was, though.
Is soaking and it's getting there. This is that Fort Collins guy. I'm using parts from the gentleman I met down in Pueblo. Hopefully the Motorcraft 1.08 Venturi will work pretty well. Slightly concerned over the Venturi's nozzle there because it's not aligned correctly, but it should work. This is the part where I had to get a whole new piece because he drilled into the hole, which he shouldn't have done. All you have to do is take this clip off on the back to get the part off. And then he Loctited it. Huzzah. So, hope to get it running here soon on the Jeep. I got a bunch of stuff to put it on soon. All the trim, air dampener. A gentleman gave me a free timing light and tactometer in case I have any more issues. Hopefully not. Still got to put the hubcaps on, but it's getting there. Stay tuned for me screaming at the carburetor because it ain't running right. Hopefully not. I think the RPM's a little too high, but I wonder, I just want to see. So I put it in gear. Oh shit.
Eventually found my way to FN Jeep. Eventually needed more parts for the truck.
Huh. So I got a new button on here. It goes in. You pull it out. Stop. That's nice. Now to figure out the horn issue too.
So I don't have any emissions or video of taking it to the first emissions and finding out, oh, sorry, it needs to be all original with the Carter, as well as needs all regular vacuum system. So I had to get it towed out of my garage, and I sent it over to Jeep Performance. And Charlie was able to install the Howell 50 state legal emissions throttle body fuel injection system on the straight six. And I must say, Charlie did an amazing job. He was able to not only get it retimed correctly, but is able to do an oil change and all these other things. So I give a big shout out to Charlie. If you ever need any Jeep performance work, go out to Jeep Performance in Inglewood, Colorado. It is a really great place. Eventually, the truck came home and I turned over perfectly. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to my buddy Tom, great man with lots of knowledge to boot, for helping weld my exhaust and catalytic converter onto the truck before going to tech emissions to get inspected.
Pull it out of gear. Yeah, it bothers me when I see the amperage go that high. I don't know why the oil pressure went out now.
After getting it up and running, I was able to go out to the emissions place, get it approved through the Aurora Tech Center before I could take it to emissions because they didn't know what the hell they were looking at. after some rigmarole of running all the way to Inglewood and all the way back, because there's one part it was illegal on it still per Colorado emissions. You need a hose vent to go to the air filter, not just one that sits on it. I was able to watch them throw my truck on the rollers, figure out how to run the truck 4-speed, but thank God it passed with flying colors. So thank you, Charlie. I really appreciate it as well. In the meantime, I was doing interior updates, putting in the radio. Eventually, here soon, I went out to Alchem Metals in Golden and got $300 worth of steel so I could start building the bumper. The bumper was thankfully built by Chris, John, and myself at the place that I work at over at the museum. So next I had to start working on the e-brakes. The e-brake, there's only one cable on because the drums were really horrible. Though everything was Loctited with red Loctite. So I still got to eventually do the passenger side e-brake. The next process was getting the gauges out, the cluster out, look at all the cluster. I was able to get a spare cluster from Mike over there at Western Auto Recycling. And I started doing the voltmeter exchange where you take it out, you have to drill 2 holes into the back of the board. Don't hit the circuit wire that's behind it. It was a really, really close call. But thankfully I was able to get it up and running to actually have the voltmeter, one's connected to a negative and one's connected to a power. The ammeter wires themselves needed to be soldered together. And the only person I could trust to do that, I could trust myself, but I'd like it done by someone that has a lot more experience in the field of soldering. I've done model railroad soldering, but nothing crazy. And these were a high amp voltage of going from the battery to the starter relay through the dash and then back out. And you just solder them together and then complete them. And that was Tyler DeChant. So I'd like to give a big shout out to Tyler. Not only did he fix that, he was able to fix a few other wiring mishaps that was underneath the dash that could have caused a fire later on down the road, along with getting the relay set up for the truck for the front bumpers, as well as the relays of the lights up on top as well, and redoing the wiring on that. So I'd like to give a really big shout out to Tyler. If you need any electrical work done, please visit him. He does a lot of great audio sound systems that rocks the truck, let's put it that way. And he's really great on a bike as well, including a lot of wheelies.
I'm gonna flip in this gas station, maybe.
All right.
Or actually, let's go up the street and fucking flip around in here real quick.
This wasn't here last time I was here, was it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Normally blocked off with box trucks though.
Ah.
That's funny. A friend of my sister's, they had this, it was a 88 Bronco, and they had me do a bunch of stuff to it because they were planning on towing a like a 32-foot fucking trailer. Ooh, no, there's no way I'm gonna make it. 32-foot trailer up to Leadville with it.
Right.
And they let me fucking mob that thing around for a week or two to make sure it'd make the trip. And I tried doing a burnout in that thing, and it just fucking like dead hooked and hopped like a foot off the ground.
Oh, fuck. I'm fucking scared as
And then
shit.
the throttle stuck wide open. I was
Holy
like,
shit.
oh god!
Why don't we stop right here and take a picture of that?
That's a good fucking. That's an epic picture right there.
Holy shit.
I guess I'm gonna fucking do it inside.
Yeah, that'd be tight.
Yeah.
Between Tyler and I working on the truck, at the museum they're also doing an event which coincided with the anniversary of a triple steam up first done ever, which thankfully I was able to participate in right before heading out to Wakita. So please enjoy some of these train videos of the doubleheader from the Caboose 0578, along with my great buddies taking the truck out for a spin.
Ah, this is cool. Don't hit reverse. Is that a reverse lockout?
There is, kinda. You have, as long as you don't push it all the way over to the right.
I think that was straight down. We're not going backwards, so I guess I'm okay.
never die.
I got that. This is hard for my big giant legs.
No worries.
Steam locomotives this Saturday and Sunday. What an opportunity. This is going to be like a one-time deal, right? This one-time deal. How tough is it to crank one of these babies up? I mean, it's not like you just turn the key and start it up. You don't. But in fact, we have been firing each of these up a day in advance to make sure they're up to pressure, to make sure our crews know how to run them. And then we have to hitch them together, make sure the crews know how to run them together.
And boy, was it wow for sure. So that's just a brief overview of getting the truck up and running. 4 months alone and well over $4,000, mostly in carburetors, $1,000, and $3,000 in the fuel injection system. So now we're off to Wakita for the 25th anniversary of Twister. So stick with me here for now 6 more parts coming up here soon.